So with T+1 coming, securities ecosystems changing, maybe we'll get to T0, I don't know. What do you see firms like yourselves, Nitesh and others that you're seeing, talking to, Sean, need to do to make a wholesale change in the way they support and influence the securities infrastructure, which is going to be massive. If the volumes continue the way they are, and we've seen like double-digit increases in volume and growth, and markets are expanding, how do you see that changing in the coming years, decades? Because it is going to change, and tech's got to be at the forefront of that. What are you seeing respectively? And that's before we even talk about digitization of tokenization of assets and such like, which you guys are at the forefront in custody space. Whoever wants to go first. That's a very broad question.
Let me take a shot broadly, and then you have the lived experience in the firm. There's probably a few angles to tackle this. Long-term, strategically, this is on the minds of the C-suite for sure. Like, where is the future? The future is faster. The future is real time. The future is digitally and cloud native. The future probably has some product shift within it around exchange traded product, digital assets. Market infrastructure at some point will cross a threshold where there is a tipping point into things that are possible that are not possible today. When you can have both legs of a transaction be digital, either a digital currency and a digital asset, and then you've got the ingredients for starting to do things instantaneously. So we're not there. We will be at some point. People are starting to poke around and experiment in that place. But knowing that that's where we're going, building internal familiarity and sort of just acclimating to the technologies that are going to be ingredients into that future state become really important. So that's where I think, how do we invest in this? Where do we invest? Who do we invite in for that kind of building and solutioning together? Becomes the critical questions that they're trying to ask at the sort of senior levels in organizations on the long term. Right? In the shorter term, there's still opportunities, but they're in sort of the business case cycle of show me my ROI. Then there's this, whether you're being offensive or defensive, there's an appreciation for the necessity to make some shifts long term, and for that to be tech enabled, and talent, workforce, all those things come into play in the shifts you need to make as an organization.
Over to you, Nitesh.
The custodian, I'll tell you a lot that happens at the ground level as well, right? So when we talk about clients in the US, yes, it's a compressed time, but we still have 48 hours, right? It's slightly crunched when you go across EMEA, you still have follow the sun and whatnot. APAC is the worst, right? You literally don't have time for it. Now, I think that getting a custodian closer to point of execution is where we want to get at, right? Because the first time you would know about a risk is when a 548 comes to you, right? And then probably you'll be able to interpret that based on the narrative that is provided, right? But we can complement that with more analytics, right? Which will tell you, we predict trade failure, right? So if you can use that, right? If I'm able to tell you and give you insights on, hey, by the way, here are 3 more trades that are linked to your sale, so which you need to manage. Here's a corporate action that you need to manage on the back of this. Here is your positions are off, right? You might wait for an end of day SWIFT from a custodian, figure out that your balances are off, and then it's too late already. But we can help you to provide linkages to say, hey, by the way, you're short here, your positions are on DTC, Euroclear instead of DTC. So getting that insight up front really helps you, and an insight which really prompt responses really helps you to manage that compressed settlement cycle better. Right? But again, like I said, you would need a player, to your point, right? You need a player who can bring that critical mass together, because not everybody will have the same capability. Somebody would have capabilities better than us. But how do you standardize that data, right? Through a provider who can really bring you that scale. Because if I go and build integrations with every client, I'll run out of gas. Right? There'll be no resources, no funding for it. But how do I get a player who can really help me be channel agnostic and have just one point of integration?
And that's really helpful. I mean, one of the things I would pick up on is these processes that are interrelated, operational processes. I'm talking about corporate action, asset servicing, and then you've got assessment fails, position keeping, all those types of things that are related, and they drive related impacts to the client. What you're talking about, joining that all up through data. And when we talk to all of our other custodians and colleagues that we're dealing with in our ecosystem, that is using data to help those processes that become more joined up, because they've traditionally never been joined up. Like if you had a corporate action fail, that would like operate in a bit of a vacuum. It impacts your assessment fail, particularly for an asset manager, in terms of what he's going to get paid out at the end of the corporate action event, right? So these things are important, and as you move to a more critical time frame and it's time crunched, those things need to be more joined up, and data is clearly something that's new to this processes or set of processes that will help with that.